kicking off the recording. And again, welcome everyone to the Lead and Succeed Masterclass. We've brought together this masterclass to give people a sense of our Lead and Succeed 7-week program. So as Maxme, we have brought human skill upskilling to a much larger group of people than would normally get this sort of upskilling. And we do that in a number of ways, and we run 5, 7, and 9-week programs with our clients. So we basically work with our clients to make sure that the topics that they want to cover are covered. We have a very flexible platform with lots and lots of different human skill areas that we focus on. So we bring together those focus areas in a program for our clients, and normally anchor to 5, 7, or 9 weeks. So we're going to bring you a snippet of what we normally cover in what we call our Lead and Succeed program. Before I go much further, though, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the virtual lands on which we are meeting today, and pass on my respect to their elders past and present. I also want to extend that respect to anyone who might be of Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander descent joining us today. In terms of an agenda, super quick, that we do have a bit to get through. It is a 7-week program and we've got 45 minutes. So we wanted to make it as interactive and informative as possible. But we will go through just the core tenets of the Lead and Succeed program to give you a sense of how it all works and flows. And then we'll be taking you through 3 of the core, I guess, focus areas of the 7-week program and giving you a feel for what we cover, but it's in real life. So aspects of what we would do in the workshop we're going to bring to you today. And then we'll just, we'll give it a close, and then we'll take any questions that anyone has along the way. But I do ask you to participate. This is a participating workshop, and we've got some activities for you today. So in terms of the program's purpose, Lead and Succeed, and don't let the name fool you, it is not just for leaders, or as we traditionally think of as people leaders, and we'll cover that concept in a little while. But we seek, or we aim to sort of help people to develop those interpersonal, emotional, cognitive competencies. Those are the skills that are traditionally not taught at school, nor, kind of through tertiary or further studies. And then certainly at workplaces, only a very small number of people get this kind of detailed development, normally leaders of people and people on talent programs. So we're definitely aim to bring this to everybody, really, because everybody needs these skills. We do take a very practical approach to the workshop. It's, we base it on the 70-20-10 learning framework, which, the concept is, and probably the well-researched and almost tried and tested concept is that 70% of our learning we do through doing, but that has to be scaffolded with 10% of learning, and then 20% of sort of, I guess, good leadership or mentorship, or, basically that support human to human. So we build our programs on that basis. And, we do try and stick to that 70% of the learning that we do together is in activities or in doing. And we definitely want to leave you with the strong sense of these skills that you need to sort of lead and succeed, hence the name. But certainly the very strong research coming out now in the last year especially is that 70% of the skills that we're going to need in the AI age are actually not technical skills. Ironically, they're these human soft skills. So we really want to leave people with a strong sense of what that needs to look like for their success. In terms of the actual program itself, it is, as I said to you, a 7-week program. We start off like we start every single program, and that's in the very critical domain of emotional intelligence. We know that emotional intelligence is a 4 times determinant of success versus IQ alone. And so we always start with that, and the core tenet of emotional intelligence being self-awareness, and particularly this kind of concept of what are my strengths and my derailers, and how do I manage those in everyday life. We then move our programs into the world of where you're working with others in collaboration. Again, a core way that we're going to have to exist and work in the future world of work, which I guess is already here. But, this concept of it's not enough for me to just know about my strengths and derailers. I need to actually open up. And when I form with, in a team with others, what are their strengths and derailers? How do we work really well together? We also focus on this concept of delegation and influence. And often, even though you're not a people leader, you're still going to need to delegate work to others. And then, how do you take on these skills around delegation, effective delegation? And then, of course, start to practice them before you become, a people leader or a leader of leaders. And then, we really ask participants to lean into this concept of my own personal leadership. What does that look like for me? And then we do a wrap and a celebration, bring it all together and set you on your merry way for further learning, or this lifelong learning that we like to inculcate through our experiences. In terms of what's in it for participants, we definitely, these are our kind of 6 core big benefits that we share with participants. Very much this sort of heightened sense of self-confidence, the ability to be more present with people. I definitely say all the time, there's no bigger gift that you can give to somebody else than being really present with them, particularly when they need you or when you're connecting and interacting. We definitely give participants the heightened sense of not all stress is bad. In fact, some stress is really good and it's performance enhancing stress. So we like to teach participants about the difference between them and how to harness positive stress whilst, really avoiding distress, which is the cortisol releasing stress we want to all avoid. We definitely help people to lean into much higher, a more effective way of communicating, and communication being the way to build really healthy relationships and maintain them, build trust, etc. Faster personal and career growth. I mean, like, none of us turn up to work to be stunted in whatever our aspiration is, and we certainly like to grow and advance. So whatever that looks like for us, there's a lot of press at the moment around burnout. And I read something yesterday going, the corporate ladder is evil and, what you get at the top is nothing. I mean, I guess that's someone's perspective on it, but every one of us has an individual kind of set of goals that we want to achieve. And we like to let participants sort of lean into what that might look like for them. We definitely also focus on this concept of creativity, creative problem solving, failing fast, agile mindset, agile ways of working, etc. So we leave participants with that confidence to lean in and turn up in that way. Okay, let's get going. So in terms of the first focus area, as I said to you, we always start with self-awareness. And this concept of my strengths and what we all love to obsess about, our weaknesses. We don't love that word. We prefer to think of it as strengths and lesser strengths. You're really good at some things and not so good at other things. But most importantly, it's the awareness of what that is for you and the management that comes after the awareness. Research has shown that people are actually really low in self-awareness, and it's why emotional intelligence globally is pretty average, because the core tenet of emotional intelligence is in fact self-awareness. So research has found that 80 to 85% of humans going around thinking, yeah, I'm pretty self-aware, and actually they're not. 10 to 15% think they're self-aware and are. So we look up to those people who actually think it and are. And then 5% actually don't think they're self-aware and are right as well. So I guess by virtue of that, they're self-aware enough to know that they're not. But anyway, the headline here is that a lot of us go around thinking we are self-aware, but in fact are not. And I guess there is another statistic, a well-researched statistic around leadership or management of others. And the research by Gallup has found that only 18% are actually good at what they do, are competent managers of other people, leaving a vast majority, leaving others and probably themselves as well, wanting for more. And our very strong point of view based on well-researched and working with many clients now is that the more competent that a leader or a manager is in terms of this domain of emotional intelligence, the more likely that they're in the 18% rather than the 82%. And of course, our whole inspiration around why we do what we do at Maxme is we want to definitely shift that dial significantly and flip those statistics, because we all want to work in those workplaces and for those managers. Let's be honest. All right, just quickly, and this is a moment for you to put something in the chat. I'd love you to put in, what is a word that you would choose for the best leader you've ever had? How would you describe that leader? What would be a word that you would choose? The best leader you've ever had. If you could pop it into the chat, and Cara, if you want to just help us by just giving us those words, if you could call them out as they're going into the chat, please.
Yeah, we've got transparent from Nick. Courtney's saying approachable. We've got inspiring, supportive.
So transparent, right? Willing to be really honest with me, be kind of, I guess, authentic is the other word that normally goes with transparency. Is I don't want to feel like my manager is not approachable. I think that's the word that Courtney used as well. I want to feel like when I need them, they're there for me. Now, I'm not talking about, every minute of the day, because we all need our own time to do things, but those really great leaders make us feel invited to come and see them when we need them most. I think that I heard inspirational as well, that, they're willing, they're giving me this kind of sense of what could be, both for myself and what we're working on together. And they're inspiring me, particularly to give this discretionary effort. Couple more words, Cara?
Yeah, a couple more words are, we've got never dying spirit from Sachin. Belinda's saying available, perceptive. Prema's saying caring. Jasmine, encouraging and accessible.
Perfect. So caring, giving compassion and care is a very, very big differentiator for great managers, particularly those that get people to go above and beyond for them. I want to touch on the word that Belinda used, which, can you just read that out again to me, the second part of Belinda's?
Yes, we had available and perceptive.
Perceptive. And remember, I mentioned to you before, guys, that presence is the biggest gift that you can give to somebody else as a leader. It is impossible to really be perceptive of what's going on and to really read the play well unless you're being really present with your people and in the situation. And again, I want to stress, with your people doesn't mean you're the people leader. It means that when you come together with other people to actually get stuff done and to deliver outcomes, is that you are giving the situation in your team, the people you're with, the gift of your presence. You're being perceptive, approachable, caring, compassionate, all of those words that we just said. But let me just stop and say, it is really hard to turn up in the words that we used all the time. We are, at the end of the day, mere mortals, humans, and a work in progress at all points in time. So I just want to pause there and acknowledge that to actually turn up as a great leader is really hard and it requires a lot of work. And that's why Gallup found that only 18% of people are really good managers or leaders, particularly with other people. All right, just quickly in terms of how we see leadership, we definitely see leadership in two hemispheres. The first hemisphere is self-leadership, or as we like to call it, the world of me. And very importantly, and I say this all the time, the most powerful leader you will ever have in your lifetime is yourself. Because at the end of the day, you can't get other people to do or say or control them in any way. The only person you get to control is yourself. And so self-leadership is such an empowering way to look at leadership. You get to decide, you get to lead yourself through life, make decisions of what's right, what's wrong, how you're going to show up. So self-leadership is a very powerful type of leadership that we all are capable of. The other side is leadership of others, or as we like to think of it, we lead in the world of we. And really importantly, leadership of others doesn't mean people leadership. I want to stress that again. You could be a thought leader, you could be a project leader, you could be a leader of a team, a sporting team, etc. At the end of the day, we all get opportunities to lead every day, particularly when we're working with others. And so those two, hemispheres often simultaneously are happening for us. And really importantly, our whole impact in both of those worlds is driven deeply by our emotional intelligence. And it's why we spend a lot of time talking about emotional intelligence and actually working on the concept. I'm going to skip over this quote really quickly, but just to summarize, to say, it's really, really hard to galvanize people around a common goal, particularly when you're building diverse teams. We hear a lot about diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workplace, but it's really, really hard to lead and work with people that are different to us for a myriad of reasons, and we actually explore those in our workshops. But most importantly, it's the reminder that great leaders know how to galvanize people around a common goal, even if those people are really different to one another, even if they're coming at things from different perspectives. And in fact, that's even better, because that's where you get real innovation, right? Creative outcomes to things. But to harness that and to get the most out of people is super hard. Daniel Goleman, who is the father of the emotional intelligence framework that we use, his quote says it all. It doesn't matter, about anything really, other than if your emotional abilities are not in check, if you can't have self-awareness, if you don't have empathy, if you can't build effective relationships, doesn't matter how smart you are, doesn't matter if you're off the Richter scale IQ, you actually are not going to get very far, particularly if you're leading. And I'm happy to be challenged by anyone on this call. If you can give me an example of a high IQ person, low EQ person that you were inspired by, that you wanted to work for, that you wanted to give discretionary effort for, because ultimately people that don't have EQ are derailed by the things that are everything that we just described. They are often unavailable. They're often don't understand human emotion. They can't have strong empathy. They lack those skills because they have that low emotional intelligence. So we need to keep remembering that EQ forms 58% of our job performance, the majority. Super quickly, again, I just want to show you the framework. We go through it in quite a lot of detail in the workshop. But as you can see, on one side is where we think of the world of me, and that forms the starting point of self-awareness and self-management. The only person you get to control is yourself, and the work has to be done to get yourself to that heightened state of emotional intelligence internally. And then externally, social awareness and social skills, that's where we start to think about building relationships with others, trust, rapport, through a lens of empathy, all of those things that we need to be able to actually work with others, work quickly, work in complex situations, be able to have great debate, be able to actually spend less time building trust because it's already built, and more time on the activities and the actions that we want to achieve. As I said to you, self-awareness is where it starts. It's the foundational aspect of emotional intelligence. And self-awareness itself is made up of 4 different, I guess, fundamental building blocks. First and foremost, what are my strengths and weaknesses? Then what are my drivers? What are the things that, come together to help me think, feel, and act in a certain way? What are my values? That, not somebody else's values. What do I value? What's important to me? And often when your value is undermined, when someone is doing something that's fundamentally undermining what you value, that's where you go into the reactive state. And we'll talk about the reactive state in a little while. And then finally, what is my emotional go-to? How do I show up emotionally? We are all emotional animals. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. We act emotionally, we decide emotionally, and a lot of people like to bury their head in the sand about that. But it is, in fact, a foregone researched conclusion. So how do you get the awareness on how are you showing up emotionally, and how is that either helping or hindering you in terms of your impact? Really, really importantly, from a point of view of strengths and why we spend a lot of time on strengths, it's not traditionally done. Most people spend most of their time thinking about their weaknesses and trying to make their weaknesses into strengths for a number of reasons, some of them all the way back to, caveman days. But strengths is where it's at. You're hardwired to be good at some things. Applying your strengths increases your confidence and your likelihood of success. When you are aware of your strengths and you're living those strengths every day, you're more likely to be more emotionally intelligent. And really importantly, with that realization that we can't be good at everything. Not everything can be a strength. Don't try and make everything into a strength. So what are your personal strengths, and how do you use them more and hone them more? We like to anchor to something called the Virtue into Action, VIA character strengths. And really importantly, I've just shown you here the 24. The app that I got you to download before, it's all plumbed in. You go through a short 15-minute exercise to actually, use this globally. Millions have done this particular assessment, and it gives you a 1 to 24 ranking of your top to bottom character strengths, and they are all, all described here. Yes, Cara?
Just at the halfway mark now.
Thank you. So really importantly, we take people through that, I guess, discovery, so that everybody in the sessions are clear on what are my top, what are my bottom, what's in the middle, and what do I do. Strengths are so important because we know, again, Gallup's really well-researched findings are that people who know their strengths and use them every day are actually 6 times more likely to be successful in their careers and 3 times more likely to report that really high quality of life. We all want that for ourselves. Just really quickly, and I really like to pull out this case study when we're working with groups. That is that a well-known US study was done, and this was done a long time ago, and they sort of divided two groups of high school students. One group was a very talented reading group. They had already achieved a high level of achievement in terms of their reading, and the other group were average readers. They gave both groups the same training, the exact same speed reading, improvement training, same period of time, same aspects, the exact same. And each group had improvement. Now, my question to people on the call is, what improvement did the average readers make? What percentage improvement did the average readers make? Please put it into the chat or call it out. I'm happy either way. What improvement? Anything in the chat yet, Cara?
Not yet.
Come on, guys, just guess. Like,
Oh, Jasmine, I can see you saying something. You just need to unmute yourself. I've got Nick's called out 50%.
50%. Thanks, Nick. Anyone got any other guesses?
And Jasmine reckons same, and Satch reckons 27%.
Okay. All right.
Sorry, 75.
Thank you. And what about the talented readers? What percentage improvement did they make? Through the same training as the average readers. Both groups got the same training. We've already said the average readers, 50%, something along those lines. What about the really advanced, talented readers? What percentage improvement did they make?
So we've got Satch is getting 25%, Nick reckons 5%, Belinda 60%, and Courtney 10%.
Okay, well, there's the numbers. So the average group improved by 66%. 66%. I mean, you'd take that improvement any day of the week, wouldn't you? But here's the clincher, and no one ever gets this. We always get the answer that the talented group made less improvement than the average group. But in fact, it's absolutely the opposite. In that study, the talented group improved their already exceptional reading by 828%. 828%. Why? Because when you go from your strengths and when you are already good at something and you continue to hone it and you continue to use it and you continue to improve it, your outcomes are exceptional, off the Richter scale, unbelievable, hard to believe. Versus if you're average at something and you're trying to improve it, at best you'll get to perhaps mediocre, maybe a little bit better. So where are you going to spend your energy and time? Where are you going to focus? The other activity we do, and I don't want to spoil our thunder, but you can do it in your own time, is write a sentence with your preferred hand and then write the same sentence with your non-preferred hand and look at the quality of the outcome, and then spend some time trying to improve the sentences with both those hands and see where the improvement is with the exact same effort. I think you'll find that your preferred hand improves much better with a lot less effort than the improvement that you're going to make with your non-preferred hand for a lot more effort. So I'm going to leave you with that, and we're going to move on to the next thing, which is, just very quickly, we also spend some time talking about weaknesses. We have an unhealthy relationship with our weaknesses, or our derailers, as we prefer to call them. We spend 80% of our time thinking about what we're not good at and trying to improve those things. Let's go back to the reading challenge. Do you want to make a 66% improvement, or do you want to make an 828% improvement? Because you get to choose. You get to lead yourself through your decisions, through your life, what you focus on, how you turn up. If you know your strengths and you turn up using those strengths every day, you have a much better chance of going from excellent to exceptional than from incompetent to mediocre. Okay, I'm going to, and sorry, one last thing that I want to stress here is this. Sometimes we think of our weaknesses as the things we're not good at. In fact, we can be derailed by overdoing what we are good at. There is such a thing as doing too much of a good thing. And I always use the example of one of my top strengths is zest. Zest is the power of energy. It's the skill that you bring where you energize a group and you turn up and you're passionate and you love what you do. But imagine if I bound into a room first thing in the morning with a group of introverts who actually are, really not ready for my levels of energy. That very same energy that I could use for good will actually probably derail the outcome that I want to achieve with the group that I'm working with at that time, because my energy is too much. So I've had to work on my awareness and my self-management to really think about, I know that the strength of energy, the skill around bringing energy to something is really good and can really lift things. But what is it time for now? Because if I overdo it, I'm going to derail the very things that I want to achieve. So we would prefer to work with people that want to use their strengths, but not overuse their strengths, to make sure that it's that Goldilocks just right moment as much as possible every single day. Okay, I think we're gonna keep going, Cara. I think we've had enough activities in that space, and hopefully I've landed home what we try and achieve with users, with our participants, I should say. So we then, the second focus area that we lean into as part of our program is this concept of delegation. Now, delegating an influence is really hard, and we've got quite a bit of content on that on the platform. Now, why is delegation necessary, but also hard in some situations? So, first of all, delegation is necessary because it actually helps others and yourself grow. You actually grow and advance and, learn things about yourself when you're willing to delegate the very important work that, you might be working on that might be very important to you. The actual act of delegation is hard, it's risky, but when you delegate and then you support really effectively after delegation, you are going to grow, and the person that you've delegated to is going to grow as well. Delegation is also super important when you need to call someone else's expertise. It's pointless to put your arms around something and say, I've got this is mine. That kind of siloed approach that we often get in organizations where people don't want to admit that they don't know something and that they need the help of others. So being able to delegate a piece of work, or at least collaborate and work on things together, which means you do have to give up some of what you're doing, that's super important in terms of if you want to get that great outcome. Sometimes your workload's not going to be in balance. We hear a lot at the moment about burnout, and I've got so much on my plate. Now, there is a way to actually lighten your load by delegating to others. Now, I know most of you are probably thinking, well, everybody's burnt out and everybody's stretched thin. Of course, there's the aspect of work balancing, there's the work creation, planning. Some of those things are also missing in some scenarios, but certainly delegation is a really great way to share the workload around and to make sure that everyone's feeling in balance and that everyone's participating and working as hard as one another. And then finally, and really practically, like we all want to go away on holiday, right? Can't tell you how many times I've gone on holiday, working till the last second to try and get something done. Delegation is really helpful when you want to go on holidays and you want to actually have a holiday rather than dragging your laptop along with you, which I've done in my career many, many times. And it's nothing to be, nothing to be glorifying. We should be able to get away, have a break, and be able to know that the work that we need to get done is going to get done while we're away. Okay, an activity. Do you find delegation hard? What gets in the way of effective delegation? Now, Cara, I know we were going to do a bit of a exercise here and put people in the rooms. What are your thoughts?
Yep, no, I think we should do it.
Let's do it. Okay, so we're going to work in pairs. And we just want you to talk about in your pair, do you find delegation hard? And what gets in the way of your effective delegation? We're only going to do a couple of minutes, and then we'd love a couple of people to share from within the pairs. So enjoy. We use breakout rooms a lot in our programs, so we want you to feel and have a go. Do you find delegation hard, and what gets in the way of effective delegation? Thanks for that, Cara.
No worries. And if you find that the person in your room isn't there, or we need to switch you up, no worries. Just head on back into the main room. We'll sort you out. No worries. I'll open up the rooms now.
And this is a speed through, like obviously we spend on each topic time.
Yeah.
All right, everyone's back.
Yay. All right. Just a couple of thoughts. Do you find delegation hard, and why? What gets in the way of effective delegation? Who wants to be the brave person that speaks up?
But in our group,
I was just going to say, Jasmine Bartra, I feel like you're the sort of person that would, yes?
I got kicked out of the room, but what we covered was find it hard to delegate, especially when you feel that it will be much quicker if I do it. Like that's the biggest block. Nick, however, for him, he found it hard when he knew that everybody else is at capacity. So how do I delegate more? Because I have that visibility. And yeah, so that was interesting. But the common theme was more around it's quicker, more efficient, better if I do it.
Yeah, I know what I'm doing, right?
I know
So
what I'm doing.
I don't have to teach anybody else. That takes
Yes.
time. Anyway, anyone else want to add to that?
We discussed briefly, sorry, this is Belinda. We
Please.
briefly discussed the difference between genuine delegation and also handing over the responsibility that comes with that task and ownership, as opposed to, the buck still stops with you, but you're simply getting someone to do the task.
Which I think is right, Belinda, you're right, because it's all about what sort of delegate are you, right? Because I've had delegation to me where I've then been micromanaged through the task. So it isn't actually delegate and support and let me know how I can help you. It was, I'm giving you this task because I've got a lot on my plate, but then I'm going to micromanage you through that experience because I don't really trust you. Versus I do have ultimate accountability regardless, because ultimately it is my work, or it's been assigned to me, but actually I'm going to support this other person. I'm going to enable them, because even though it's more difficult this time, it's taking me a bit more time. Next time they'll be able to do a bit more without as much hand holding from me, but I'm there to support, I'm there to make sure, I'm there to guide, those sorts of things. So I think that, they're two very, very different mindsets when we attack this concept of delegation. Really quickly, barriers to good delegation: fear that the job won't get done well and that you might look bad, right? That's why a lot of people don't delegate, because they're afraid. And back to Belinda's point, because I'm ultimately accountable, and if this doesn't get well, I'm going to get smashed for this. So no, I'm not going to delegate. Belief that you're an expert in something and others don't know as much as you do, right? Nobody's going to get this done as well as me. I'm the expert in this. And then others, that concept of, it's just faster to do it myself. I don't have time to teach somebody else, right? I'm so busy, I'm so under the pump, but at what cost, right? Because if the role of the leader is to create more leaders, and then we want to create more capacity in our teams, we want to help people grow and develop, realize their potential. If we don't delegate, if we don't give them a chance, then obviously that's not going to work. Yes, Kari, you're going to tell me there's 5 minutes, aren't you?
I am, and I'm going to say probably last topic would be great.
Fantastic. Thank you. All right. Final topic that we cover. And again, as I said to you, this is only 3 of the topics that we cover. We cover others in the Lead and Succeed. But that final concept is that you actually need to have that awareness of your own leadership style to then be able to, 1, create more leaders, delegate more, and work with others really effectively. So finding your leadership is super important. Some of the things that we cover in this module and in the workshops that we run is this concept of leaders have to wear many hats. There isn't this sort of one trick pony, and it's why, again, only 18% of managers or leaders are good at what they do, because often we lack the sensitivity to know what hat to wear, or that we have to wear multiple hats. Sometimes we have to be the manager. Sometimes we have to be the decision maker. Sometimes we have to be the coach. Sometimes we have to be the strategist or the motivator. And again, I want to stress, this is not just when we're leading people. We might be a thought leader. We might be a project leader. We have to wear multiple hats when we're assuming a leadership role in something. So really, really importantly, it's that knowledge, it's that sophistication around what are the hats that I can wear and what is it time for now. That is a skill in itself and needs to be cultivated and developed. As I said to you, we've covered some of these concepts. You don't have to be a people leader. Leaders' role, the leader's number one role when you're in the leadership role is to produce more leaders, is to grow others, is to create capacity within the system for things to get done really, really well. And just like you have to know your own strengths and derailers, your role is also to encourage others to do the same and to get confident about who they are. Many people assume these leadership roles, even in the workshops that we run table activities, and we see this beautiful kind of sense of leadership bubbling up that some people, even though they might be, the most unlikely person to lean in and take a leadership role for the group in the activity that we're doing throughout the time that we spend with these groups, because of course we spend multiple sessions with them. We see this amazing possibility around, hey, I can lean in and be the leader this time. I don't have to remain quiet. I don't have to have this sort of, kind of crippling imposter syndrome of, oh, what good thing have I got to add into here? We see that beautiful, beautiful progress in people. And of course, it gives us such a humble state of being able to have that impact in their lives. All right, really importantly, and super quickly, what are the strengths that you can lean on in terms of motivating others? And, which of your strengths will help you, right, to achieve your goals? Just super quickly, put it in the chat. Which one of your strengths, and of course, we haven't done a strengths finding. I would really encourage all of you to go and do the self-awareness level 1 module on our app and discover what your 24 character strengths are in order. But just, off the top of your head, which one of your strengths do you think you can lean on to really help you to achieve your goals? Super quick as our final activity together. Just put it into the chat. How aware are you? Are you in the 15% or are you perhaps not?
What were some of the strengths, Ren?
Oh yeah, that's a good one, Cara.
We're at the 1:15, so appreciate if people need to peel off, but we'll be emailing out a recording as well as links after this session. But here's the strengths.
Would have been very clever of me to put that slide in again, just at that activity, Cara. Anyway, that's one for next time. A continuous improvement mindset right there. So if you were to choose one of these and say that it was a strength of yours, which one could you use to help you to set goals and to get stuff done, to achieve? Just pop it into the chat. Are there any in the chat, Cara?
Indeed, we have. Let's have a look. We've got Eugene, humor, Jasmine, appreciation, Prema, listening, patience, Belinda, perseverance, Jasmine, spirituality, fantastic. Nick, self-regulation, extremely important, and Sachin, hope.
And Nick,
fairness.
Nick, I just want to point out to you that self-regulation is actually a very rare top strength to have, and people always get really paranoid because not a lot of people come up with self-regulation. We do a lot of activities that people start sharing their strengths with each other. Of course, we want people to be able to talk about theirs, be proud, have fun. And self-regulation doesn't come up very often. And often I feel people peel back going, oh my God, I'm like so weird. I'm so different. Nobody's like me. But I always say to people, those that have high self-regulation are actually able to, stick with something, be a really great planner, make sure things are finished, be quite diligent in terms of making sure that things are getting done well. That is a superpower in a team, particularly if a team has very low self-regulation, or prudence is another one. That is an absolute superpower in a group. So I'm really glad you raised that one and, wore it loud and proud in the chat. Well done.
And just to jump ahead, probably right now, because 1:17, probably good to share the results if you're up for that.
I will. So, results at a glance. I think one of the things that we wanted to share with you was what reporting looks like from our programs. And this was actually the results from our 9-week version of Lead and Succeed, because we offer 7 and 9 week. And we actually take a benchmarking survey at the start and then at the completion. And each individual gets their own performance or their own kind of improvement and what sentiment they've expressed along the way and how they're feeling about that, that kind of program and what they've got out of it. And then we roll up the results, anonymize it obviously, and roll it up for the organization so that we can get this really deep sense of where did the cohort go to, what are they feeling really great about, what are some of the things that they're probably made a little bit less progress in? Or sometimes we find that, you know, people might, set quite a high score for themselves, but as you can see, significant shifts in quite a short period of time when we're working with groups. And we always get really significant uplift in this concept of self-awareness, strengths and derailers. And again, I want to stress it's so beautiful for that to happen, because that is the cornerstone of emotional intelligence. And of course, emotional intelligence is the cornerstone of all these other soft skills that we talk about. So just wanted to give you a sense of, our results, our reporting and what it looks like. And, again, wanting to stress that this is not a one size fits all. You don't have to do the Lead and Succeed modules as they are. We will work with the organization, obviously, to come up with the themes and the topics that are really pertinent to the organization, to the cohort, what they want to achieve. So we're super flexible from that point of view. And yeah, look, get in touch for anyone who's come on board and done a masterclass and going, oh, wow, this would be great for my colleagues or for my organization. Please feel free to reach out to us and give us your feedback. That would be great as well. I'll stop there for anyone who wanted to ask any questions, who's hung around and didn't have to go and might have any questions for us or any comments. No? Nothing in the chat. All right. Well, again, thank you so much for joining. We've really enjoyed running this masterclass. It's our first one. We get asked a lot, oh, tell us a bit about the program. We don't understand. And so we thought the best way to do that is actually get people on and run, just a quick slither through it, but to give you a sense of the vibrancy of the experience, what we cover, but of course, we cover it in more detail through the program. So thank you for joining. Thank you for spending your lunchtime or your almost 1 hour with us. We've really appreciated your time. And like I said, stay in touch. Thanks.